Hi, my name is Michael Wagner. I am a senior market analyst for Newzoo, and this year I will be giving you the free focus topic discussion around the release strategies for single player games. In this video, we will be exploring two subtopics of the release strategies, and that is AAA release timings and early access length. So whether you're a AAA studio on its 25th launch or an indie release with their first, there's something here for everyone. A few housekeeping points first, and that is that this analysis looks at single player games launched between January 2021 and December 2024 that hit at least 50,000 players in their first 3 months. We also want to define the size of the game by their MSRP, so indies are defined as $30 or less, AAA is $51 or more, and AA is as everything in between. We need to also point out that Xbox data is included if a title has launched on Game Pass within the first 3 months of being on the Xbox platform. We do this because not all publishers want or get a Game Pass deal, so we wanted to measure organic engagement as if you were not to receive one. So, without further ado, we are going to start talking about release timing, and that is that we start by challenging the old holiday release mindset. We looked at 155 games, found that roughly 45% of them launched between August and November. However, aside from Baldur's Gate 3, no other titles released before mid-August and after mid-November. So effectively, half of all games released in a given year are in the same 3-month period between mid-August and mid-November. Looking at how this affects engagement, there are two big spikes. One is in February, which is largely driven by Hogwarts Legacy and Elden Ring, and the other is August, which is half taken up by Baldur's Gate. So when we remove these three titles from the engagement metrics, we notice that they're about roughly half the size for May and August in this chart. And when we compare February through May to August to November, we notice that February to May outperforms August to November by roughly 35%. However, when you look at Q2, you can see that these 3 months perform relatively well, even comparable to Q4, yet have significantly fewer games in that window. But there is also a second order effects here for this concentration in the later half of the year, and that is during holiday releases, influencers also increase their rates to accommodate for the increase in demand. Journalists will focus on the same popular games to drive the most traffic for themselves, and also paid advertising costs climb as other industries increase their holiday advertising. So the takeaway here is that holiday releases made sense when games were largely Christmas gifts, but the audience and industry has matured beyond this. Players are engaging with fewer titles and as they have more personal obligations, shrinking discretionary spending, and other entertainment options available to them. Launching alongside dozens of other titles effectively sabotages your own project's ability to succeed. Now we're going to move over into the early access side. And what we're going to do here is shift our scope just ever so slightly and say that a game had to have released into early access by January 2021 and have also released a 1.0 before December 2024. So how long should you stay in early access? When we look at the chart here, we see the length of time measured in 3-month increments on the x-axis and new player engagement titles by title on the y-axis. We found that early access should be as short as possible, and the graph displayed shows a steady decline of new players the longer the game lingers in early access. However, there are nuances here. The 7 and 9 month category is a bit of an outlier with Dave the Diver, which skews the new player engagement upwards. Then, in the 22 to 24 month category, V Rising and Ready or Not make up a large portion of that bar. These titles are examples of effects of having a roadmap with milestones, strong post-launch content, and a strong marketing campaign to re-engage old fans, but also attract new ones at launch. So the rule of thumb here is to keep early access under 6 months unless you have a clear plan, timeline, and community roadmap. We find that many of the games that linger in early access did so as a means of extending their development runway rather than be a well-planned and purposeful part of it. So, to wrap up the key takeaways here, AAA publishers should rethink their holiday launches to avoid unnecessary competition and make sure that their marketing spend is as effective as possible. Early access should be within 6 months of your initial early access release. However, if you do have a very clear roadmap of how to get to an end goal and share that and keep your community engaged, this can also be an effective tactic. That concludes this presentation regarding data on release strategies. If you have made it this far, I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you find the data not only insightful, but usable in your decision making in your current and future projects.